This is Chiming In with Elise and David.
Hi.
Hello.
So guess what just happened to me this morning?
What?
I was at a graduation. Many friends of my son's class graduated today, and I ran into an old friend.
Your son, not my son?
Oh, shit. What'd I say?
You said my son.
I did not.
You did. Did you forget that
Stop
we had
it.
the child
I did
together?
not say my son. That's such a pet peeve for
You
me.
just said my son.
Well, maybe I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to the pretend people.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought you were talking to me. I thought we were talking to each other.
Okay. All right, take two.
Okay.
So guess what happened to me today?
What?
Okay, so I was at a graduation.
Right.
And our sons.
Very
Okay,
good.
delete.
Very good. No, that's
okay,
good.
no,
Okay.
delete. Okay, so anyway, I ran into an old friend. Her niece was graduating. And after they called her name, I was like, oh my gosh. And I saw her. She was right there. So I walked over and I said, congratulations. And do you know where is she going? Is she going to school next year? And the friend turned around to me and she knee-jerk reaction and said, what do you mean, is she going to school next year? Of course she's going to school next year. And I was like really taken aback because that was the last thing I expected almost anybody to say, but particularly this person, because she already knows what it feels like to have a person that she birthed that chose not to go to school or hasn't gone to school, to college yet. Yes. And maybe ever. And so I already knew that we've like, bonded over that. It's been a while since I saw her, but I was like, what do you mean? Of course that's a legitimate question. And we almost had not a fight, but like a back and forth about it. And she was like, that's not like what this is. Like, obviously she's going to go to a college right now. I was like, I don't believe that it is obvious. That's why. And I thought you knew that too. Super confused. Should we start over? And it was bizarre. And I thought, here I'm like trying to take care of all of us in this moment by saying, or is she like it's just as fair of a question for me to say, what is she doing after today?
I think it's super sensitive to not assume that she's going to go to college. And
and we know that firsthand because we have people who don't go to college. I think the difference was that this friend was maybe feeling burdened by the fact that her kid didn't go. So I'm going to just go out there and say it was a massive amount of shame. And I think she was like surprised that I would even venture to go down and offer the possibility that somebody might not go to school, because that is a horrible thing to say. How dare you? And I was like, bruh, like I actually had,
bruh?
I do say that more than I should, but I was like a little surprised. And I felt, I felt like I just wanted to ease her burden so much, but I could tell by the couple things I said afterwards that was not at all what she was ready to hear. So, we can agree to disagree and no problem and congratulations. But I think that it just brought, I already had this idea today of talking with you about vulnerability. And I don't think that, I keep getting complimented how brave we are for doing this. And I've been told it's a compliment because I'm like, oh, good, then I'm taking one, haha. But it doesn't feel brave to me to just be real and be honest. And I know that's a thing that is not maybe so common. I don't think of being real and being honest as being brave. It's just a way of living openly. Yes, in public. My outward personality should hopefully be my inward personality to me. That is my own personal expectation on myself. That is my, and I forget that that isn't necessarily everyone's. And I'm reminded, like in the example this morning, that I do operate in a different place.
Well, I've always talked about your honesty and how your authenticity is attractive to people that you meet and how you draw people in. I think that people spot you, strangers spot you because of your authenticity. And that is...
How does a stranger spot my authenticity?
I don't know. They just do.
Well, what are you referring to? You just said it.
In a store, just people come up to you. There's just like this aura around you that is this truthful, approachable person. And I don't think that's everyone. I know it's not everyone because I don't see it happen all the time.
You know, I've been kind of thinking about this and outward appearance and inward matching that up, you know? And I think that the minute we're born, we're vulnerable. A baby is vulnerable. Our skin is vulnerable. It has to be protected. And we have to protect our children and so on and so on. So there's this feeling that if you're exposed, then you're open to attack.
It's bad.
And it's bad because somehow it's also correlated to the other part of the meaning of the word, you know, that represents weakness.
Exactly.
Right? So I don't believe that though. Like our if we're so busy wearing a protective shield or a shell or a mask or armor or the wall or whatever, guess what? We're not growing. We're not growing at all.
And we're not showing anybody who we really are.
You can't expand past your shell. So my best moments with another human are when there is an open and honest conversation. And most of the time that's with you. And what do I always tell you? I was like, I've actually told everybody who knows me. I think that I think sexy is vulnerability. I think vulnerability is sexy. And sorry, Mom. And I think that, I think that there's so much, like I watch your entire being, your face, there's your aura, whatever, your energy field, everything changes to this, like, I never thought of it before till just the second. I was going to say that you change into this like very like grounded sort of like I'm open and vulnerable, and I'm like, wow, that's your best self. But I never thought about it till just now that it's like whatever armor, shell, mask you had is dissolved. I always think of it as you are just like kind of morphing. I think that's what's happening though. It's like the shield is dissolving when we're having deep conversations, when you really let me go down deep. And you know what the root word for vulnerability comes from? You know what it comes from?
No.
You want me to tell you?
Yeah, tell me. I want to know.
Can't wait. It comes from wound.
Interesting.
So when you let me in deep into your wounds, okay, when you let me do that, I've always thought of it as like this moment where I see the real you. That's like the most naked version, right, of you. And it has become so intimate, and we're at our closest moment. And it's not during intimacy that we think of it, it's then. And that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is the best thing I've ever been around. Another human, another person. I've never experienced this with somebody else.
Well, sometimes it takes me a little while to get there. I think that you're probably talking about times where we might be having a conversation about something that I'm not either so comfortable talking about or I have my guard up, or I have my
That's what I just
walls
said.
up, right? So I let them down, and when that happens, it happens because of you. It happens because I can trust you. I can trust that I can be vulnerable with you, and you're not going to attack me now or later because of it. And that would be a real problem if you used those moments of vulnerability as some sort of like way to attack me later or even in that conversation. So thank you, because without your partnership in this, I wouldn't be able to do that.
You're welcome. I'm just kidding. Um, no, I think like, I think it's very true. But it's a psych, it's like it has to be a ebb and a flow and a fluidity. Like you have to be able to trust, and you have to be able to make the judgment that you're going to go all in and hope you're not going to get attacked.
Right.
I mean, we have to hope that. And so, but attack looks different to everyone. It doesn't mean judgment. It doesn't mean, it could be just, like you said, it could be using it at any given time. I'm now opening myself up to really getting real. And my question though, honest to God, why is that so uncomfortable? Why is it so uncomfortable? My best friendships are because we, even if it's not always a dissolved moment because we're just living, but there are so many times that we can go deep and that
Well, it can be very scary.
the protective coating is dissolved.
Yeah, but it can be really scary to remove those. The walls are up for a reason. The walls are there
What's the reason?
because you don't want to get hurt.
But isn't courage and how you show up with a feeling of confidence, like isn't that all you need, and then you just bring whoever you are to the table and allow for a curiousness to be able to, like, if you have a wall up and you don't let anything pass that back or forth, how is that an actual relationship? That's fucking lonely.
So wait, you're saying have confidence in your vulnerability, in a way? Like be confident in your vulnerability?
I'm confident that I'm okay being vulnerable. If there's somebody who's going to judge me, and believe me, there's no chance people aren't judging me and our choices and our kids. I mean, based on that conversation this morning, how could they not be? If everyone in that girl's world is judging her because that's how she feels, that's how she's walking away, well, I guess that means they're judging us too. But it's not that I don't care. It's, I just like, we're not even living in the same planet. So in other words, like if I show up in my full self, vulnerable and authentic self, and I'm opening myself up to attack, that's the supposed sensation that everyone's concerned about and doesn't want, and there's an avoidance of it, right? That's what your suggestion is. If I'm showing up that way, the way I feel like I picture that is that I'm like Merida, is that her name? The brave girl from Disney's Brave with the arrows, the redhead.
The redhead.
So I'm like, she's badass, right? So I'm showing up me, and I have the option to potentially fight back when someone says something or attacks me in some way, right? When the arrows come flying at me. But what I'm saying is that I don't need an arrow. I'm like portaled out of that world. I don't even live there.
You're like above
I'm
it. You're
not
above it.
there. So, and I'm okay. Guys, we're okay. People are beautifully commenting how courageous and brave and vulnerable this is that we're doing this podcast. And I appreciate that, and I understand but please know that while I understand that there's truth in that, it's truly, the more the merrier here, guys. Like we can all just be, and we can have disagreements. And I think that maybe we're better for it on the other side. Or we can spend, like yesterday, you and I spent hours and hours digging deep enough into a situation. I was kind of helping you go through why you knee jerk, kind of like my friend today. Why did you knee jerk and just say that to me? You kind of had a moment, and we ended up, you allowed it, and you trusted, and we dug under the wound, and the it took a while to get under to the roots to be able to pull the thorn, the bush, the weed. We pulled the whole damn thing out. It took a long time. And during that time, you allowed your truth and your vulnerability to be exposed.
Well, we both wanted to do it. We both were willing.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
You have to both be willing and also be trusting. Because if I didn't trust you and you didn't trust me, we would never have
You're
these
absolutely
conversations.
right. I'm going to choose the best person to be my surgeon, right? Like, I'm not just going to anybody. I'm going to someone that I connect with and that I can trust, that you're going to take care of me and you're going to do the very, very best. And you're going to stitch it up great afterwards and everything else, right? So we have all of those, that metaphor is how it feels. So yes, not everybody is part of our inner circle place where we can just let our hair down and show everything. I understand. And you're right. You mention it all the time. There's like society, what do you call it? Like sort of rules of
the mores and rules of society. It makes me, I think that there are two things happening here at once. There's the vulnerability that we have amongst each other as partners. And then there's the vulnerability that we have with friends and that next level, strangers, people that we run into all the time. And I think that there can be two different levels of vulnerability. I think that there has to be. We talked about when you're in your house and you're, taking a shower, you're very vulnerable in the privacy of your own home. You're not that vulnerable when you are out in public, right? You have clothes on and you're not getting into a shower in front of other people. So there's a certain expectation, I think, and a certain level of vulnerability that we are comfortable with depending on where you are and who you're with. And I would also say that some people would be uncomfortable with a certain amount of vulnerability, almost like too much sharing, right? If you start having a conversation with someone and they get into great detail about something that is not necessarily appropriate for a conversation that you would have with that person, that could almost feel like wrong too. So kind of like a red flag of maybe this person doesn't understand the rules of society, that we don't talk about this amongst people that we don't know very well. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that vulnerability is important with the people that you love, and hopefully you do have that, but it's also not necessarily something that you want to do with people that aren't your special loved ones or the people that are closest to you.
I get that. I can see that there's, it's definitely not something you want to open yourself up to everybody. I understand that there's a time and a place where you maybe keep your cards, to yourself. I don't know why this image keeps coming to me, but when I was a kid, I had a pet hermit crab.
Oh, yeah. I remember this hermit crab you talked about, named Charlie, right?
No.
What?
It was named Shelly.
Oh, right. Shelley.
It was a very creative name.
Very
Shelley.
creative.
Okay. Well, anyway, so if you've ever had a hermit crab, you know that at some point they might grow so big that they need to move to a new shell. And as we're talking, I just keep picturing that moment when the crab actually comes out entirely of the original shell, They're completely exposed. They look, by the way, very strange because all you know it as is this big shell thing moving around with a little body coming out the bottom, right? So for this moment, it's just the exposed animal with no protective shell.
Very vulnerable.
And it's very vulnerable. Like if it was in the real world, of course it's in my tank. So I got to see that it went from one to the other. And it had to, because it obviously was growing and expanding itself physically, right? But I love the metaphor of that.
You know, this reminds me of the show Love on the Spectrum.
Oh my God,
which
I was actually just going to say that.
we've been watching with our oldest daughter. And what I think about and why this is so appropriate to what we're saying
Wait,
is
tell everyone who doesn't know what it is, what it is.
so Love on the Spectrum is I think it's 4 seasons now, and it's, 10 episodes each season. And they basically follow these people who have
A variety
autism,
of people who are
special
on the spectrum.
needs spectrum, exactly. And they are trying to find love. And so they match them up with people to go on dates with. And so we get to be observers of these relationships. And one of the things that is so appropriate to what we're saying is that these young people are so vulnerable,
Right.
not only to themselves, but to to us, and to the people that they're going on these dates with. And it's so refreshing to see the honesty. And a lot of times it's very uncomfortable because social norms are not followed. So they'll meet each other and not know what to say to each other. And there's like 2 minutes of silence where they're clearly agitated about what to say and how to talk and what the next thing is going to happen. But it's okay.
Why?
And because we know it's all going to be fine. And it
No,
ultimately,
actually, back up. Why is it okay?
because it's real.
Right. And what happens during that awkward silence or awkward fidgeting when it's not, when you're really watching somebody struggle to communicate really anything sometimes to the other person, what happens as somebody who's watching that? What is happening to you?
Well, once I get over the uncomfortable sweating that's happening, because it's, you picture yourself in that situation and you're like, oh my gosh, if I didn't know what to say and I was nervous, and it would be super uncomfortable
So
and very vulnerable.
So that's exactly what I want to ask you. You picture yourself in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever really be in that situation?
No.
Right. Why?
Well, there wouldn't be any awkward silences because I ask a lot of questions, and I wouldn't let there be an awkward silence. I would just be talking and talking and talking.
Okay, right. So I guess what I'm trying to say, this is so cool because you're watching that sweating and I'm watching that with a completely different reaction because I know I'm not going to be in that situation. We've all been in one that the other person pauses a little too long, or maybe you feel like you're pausing a little too long before you respond. Mm-hmm. So the back and forth on the show Love on the Spectrum very often has two people who are in various, parts of the spectrum. It doesn't even matter what they are. But what happens is they might know a question to ask, but they don't have a lot of practice or ability to always respond and start bouncing the ball back and forth. So sometimes the ball just lands, or they can't even remember what to ask next. There's so much overstimulation going on. And I'm watching all of that, fascinated at the capture, the real authentic capture in that show. And we are watching like the highest form of authenticity that I've ever seen in a reality TV show, because they're just filming it. And if it's awkward and if you feel uncomfortable, ask yourself why, because that's what we're all trying to avoid.
It's
We're
true.
trying to avoid ever being in that situation and ever being that open and that vulnerable. And we don't even know what that feels like. We don't let ourselves feel that way. And that is all they feel. They are the little shell-less crab, right? They're really just sitting there with no protective gear. They have no one to help them in that moment. No one's going to answer for them. And they have to give an effort. And it sometimes takes a really long time and sometimes never even happens.
I love watching the authenticity, the vulnerability, and the fact that they seem incapable of saying anything other than absolutely what they're thinking and what the truth is at any point. And it's so very refreshing. I feel like so many of us walk around and keeping so much inside, and to watch these young people just say what's on their mind, even if it might be off-putting, it's real, it's authentic, and it's such a lesson for us.
Yeah. And the lesson, I think, in some ways is that they're not feeling any. They're nervous for sure, and they've never done a lot of the things they're doing by going on these dates. They haven't had those opportunities before, so it's very, a lot of first time moments. Okay, and we get to witness that, and I think that it is such the beauty that you're talking about, the witnessing of that vulnerability and that authenticity is all they know. So to be able to say, wow, like we can learn from this. Come as you are, be yourself, and either you'll connect with the other person or you won't, and you'll have had the experience. The end.
That was beautiful. I just have one question though.
Oh boy.
Whatever happened to Shelley?
Okay, so Shelley, she passed. It passed. And
You couldn't tell
I
if it
have
was a
its,
female or male?
I don't know. And I have its shell, the
Oh,
first
you
one.
kept the shell.
It was very pretty. And I got another hermit crab.
Oh yeah? What did you name the second hermit crab?
So the second hermit crab's name was Shelley too.
Of course.